Bump. Hey, we
Hello.
are. Hello. Yes. Hey, we're back with another edition of the Parent Pivot Podcast, and I am Steve Cummings.
And I'm Julia Cummings, and I'm better.
That's
I'm
because
not well, but I'm better.
Yes, so she's got her cup of hot tea in front of her, or that's just hot
It's
water.
just hot water so that I don't start hacking on anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you back because, last week, I just tried to come on here and just put something up there. We talked about detours. And I hope it went well. I hope somebody got something out of that because we do get detours thrown at us in life. We don't expect them. We don't like them when we're driving.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, let's talk about that. I was out there for a shorter podcast than normal, but we're here now. We're approaching Thanksgiving. And what did you want to talk about today?
Well, with the holidays coming up, first of all, I just want to share with you guys what goes on this camera before we turn it on is
we should
a lot of this. I'm pushing away the camera, so I'm smaller.
This. so like, and you're listening to the podcast, like, what's going on? Just picture the camera zooming in, and Julia hates that, and she pushes it back.
Because
anyway.
I'm, as I said to Steve, I'm a 62-year-old woman with lines and wrinkles and whatever, and it's like
she is the love of my life, and she's
the further
gorgeous.
away the camera, the better it is. So anyway,
even right now, we're still kind of thinking of it.
I just thought that was funny that you guys would get a kick out of that. Anyway, yeah. So with the holidays coming up, I was just thinking about we just had a really heated election.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you sit on. Both sides felt very heated, very like as if life depended upon it. And I saw that on both sides of the aisle. So knowing one side wins, one side loses, and this isn't the first time in history that one side wins and one side loses. It's the same every election cycle. Somebody's losing, somebody's winning.
Yeah, but this one just particularly seemed to have so much more emotion behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion behind it. And with that, I am foreseeing that there could be an issue with having conversations at the holidays.
Right.
I know that we've kind of
and there could have already been conversations too.
Absolutely.
You might have already had those.
Yeah. And I know, like, I've seen I'm not on TikTok and all of that, but I guess it's just like the process of living. You see things and you're like, what?
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of things about people not talking to someone else because
they've just broken off relationship.
Yeah, because of who they voted for. Right. And I'm like, something's not right about that. It seems as though that should not dictate your relationships. And while I realize for a lot of people, it's a very emotional thing and it feels very personal. We've been doing these elections for 250 years. And
in a couple of years, we celebrate
250 years.
So we're not quite there yet. But
not quite there, but
that's a lot of time.
And I'm thinking we used to be able to have conversations with the other side without it being so volatile. And I realize more people think that there's more at stake now. But what's at stake ultimately is your relationships with people that you love. And to judge them, to convict them, to not talk to them anymore because of who they voted for seems really, really ludicrous. And it's a problem.
Right. So, but I also want to say too, I'm always the cup is half full. Julia's the cup is half empty. So even as I'm listening to this, I'm going, well, Julia, I'm not going to break off relationship.
Right.
So I'm in the glass is half full. It says that's not my intent. I'm going to keep quiet. Nobody needs to know who I voted for. Or you might be in your family and know that your adult kids think differently than you.
Yeah.
And we've had some friends who that's been their case.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, I'm not planning to do that, but what if I go to Thanksgiving and or Christmas and I'm got my mouth zipped? I'm going to keep my mouth shut and welcome Matt out. But now it's coming the other direction.
And you still keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
You just say,
how can I diffuse that?
I think you listen.
Because here's what possibly I'm foreseeing happening. My kid, let's say I'm at a family gathering. There's uncles and aunts and cousins and sisters and brothers and grandmas and grandpas, and everybody's there. I'm sure that might happen in your family. And your family is already going to, let's say, has decided or will keep their mouth quiet and things not bring it up. But now someone else in the family, Uncle John or Aunt Susie, or so and so, whatever, they've got to pound their fist, and that because that's what they want to bring up. I mean,
I think that. Oops, sorry, my phone is buzzing. I think that you allow them to talk. I think that you humor them. You allow them to talk. You allow them to get it off their chest, and you validate their feelings.
yeah,
You say, "I'm really sorry that this has been so difficult. I, I'm, I don't want to see you sad, hurt, angry, whatever." Now, if they're coming at you and they're angry at you for the way you voted, all you can say is, I voted with what I thought was right, but I'm not going to talk about who I voted for. I think it's important. Once upon a time, it really was like you went in that booth and you never talked about it. Like you just went in and voted and you didn't talk about it.
right.
And honestly, it's no one's business. One of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as this is concerned is one of the things that I've also heard about that concerns me is parents who either lie to their kids about who they voted for because they know their kids won't approve. And that's very similar to what a teenager would do with their parents, right? That I'm going to lie to my parents and tell them whatever, I wasn't at that party or whatever, because they're going to be upset with me. I don't think lying under any circumstance is a good idea. I think if your child wants to know who you voted for, I think it's okay to say, you know what? I don't think we need to talk about that. I don't think that I need to know who you voted for or you need to know who I voted for. I think it's not important in our relationship. Um, but what is but part of what I heard that has bothered me is either that parents have lied about who they've voted for to keep the peace with their kids, or they actually voted for a person that they didn't believe in or was right for, just to keep the peace. And that bothers me because if you have a true conviction about who should be in a particular office or whatever, I don't care if it's mayor or president, and you feel the need to change who you are for the sake to make somebody else happy, that's very codependent. That's very, and again, if you've spent any time on this podcast, I hate that word, but that would be the sheer definition of being codependent. That I need to change what I believe, what I think, what I have convictions of to make my child happy. And vice versa. If kids are doing the same, none of that is good. This voting thing is just really messy because everybody's so angry about it.
And it also it's kicking up fears of people have believed untruths about what's going to happen. It's like we all just kind of relax and let life unfold. We'll be fine. But I guess I'm sitting there thinking, if I walked into a family, like we'll be at your mom's for Thanksgiving, and we're gonna have over 60 people in our house. And part of me is like going, I'm this big extrovert, I'm gregarious, I'm meeting everybody, and that part of me is actually going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of people and whatnot. It gets loud at my in-laws.
And it's a lot of opinions.
And there's a lot of opinions. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. But what I will do is I'll just find someone to go have a conversation with in the corner or step outside and things. Because I think, and if you have smaller gatherings where it's just you and your kids, maybe you just kind of set, if it starts to come up, is there a way to, how would you shut it down in a gentle way and stuff and move on to other things?
Well,
I mean,
I can picture a
it's,
scenario where you can easily shut it down and just go, you know, let's this Thanksgiving, let's talk about what
yeah,
we're thankful for instead of
let's
that.
focus on all the good
Um,
stuff.
and somebody and everybody might go, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right, that's great. That would be, you know, in a perfect world.
right.
There also might be a world in which somebody can just wants to
And there's
continually
nothing you can
pick a
do
fight and
about
there's
that.
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
Particularly if anybody has alcohol in them, that might
that's true.
be an
Because
issue.
people's personality can change with alcohol, and they can get
Yeah,
more belligerent. They get passive aggressive. They'll say things that they don't remember, and they're going to regret.
right.
And those nice family gatherings. I think this is why when we head to Thanksgiving, Christmas, raise your hand out there. Get ready for this. It's like, oh my gosh, I dread going. Fill in the blank for Thanksgiving because fill in the blank.
Right.
You've got these past experiences and things going. How do we make this one different?
Right.
Because I expect so and so to bring something up about this person or that person or whatever. And we're kind of coming alongside you saying, hey, we
Yeah.
see it coming. We want to help you navigate this minefield so you can be a better partner and parent and go, how do I keep the good relationships going without fracturing them over one
Yeah.
turkey leg?
And I have an example of this actually in our own life. During the pandemic, you know, everybody kind of took a different stance about the pandemic. And we had several weddings during the pandemic.
Several. We
And
had
so,
three.
yeah. So that was kind of difficult because you knew there were people that weren't going to show up. You knew there were people that were going to be there masked up. You knew that there were going to be people there who were kind of, you know, free and easy. And so there was always kind of this underlying tension of how we should
Are we
handle
being,
this.
yeah, are people blaming us? Like, what are you doing that, you're
Yeah.
having 200 people in your backyard and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that we got some criticism that way,
Yeah.
and that,
But we had family members that came from California who were living a little more in a strict way. We in Georgia were living a little more in a free way. It was the nature of the two states and what
right,
was going on in those states.
right.
Um, and so we had to, you know, I ahead of time sent out an email to the extended family, particularly those of us in Georgia who were living a little more free. And that's what we were used to. Um, and had to say, hey, nobody's talking about the pandemic. Nobody's talking about masks. This is a wedding. We are here to celebrate these people, and this is my expectation: is that nobody would bring this up. That was really important to me, and so I kind of put something out there ahead of time, and I think it went rather smoothly.
I didn't hear any repercussions afterwards. In fact,
Yeah,
we'd even had family members that live here in Georgia that came with their masks on,
yeah,
and that
yeah,
was okay.
yeah.
I mean, it's what do you feel safe doing? I mean, we have 2 acres out here, so it wasn't like we were in a covered building or anything like that. And we had 200 people here, and nobody got sick, and a few people wore masks, but that was it.
Yeah,
But what I hear you saying is you were proactive in communicating,
yeah.
hey, we're not going to sit in judgment or be critical of each other because we understand it's a volatile situation.
It's a volatile situation that has no place in a wedding. And
And,
we're here to celebrate this couple and we're going to celebrate them. So that's kind of how I handled that and kind of cut it off at the pass and kind of made that clear. Um, on the flip side, you know, those in California, when we went out and visited them, they did the same. They sent out an email to us like, hey, this is our expectation. This is what we need done.
and we honored them.
And this is what's going to feel safe for us.
Yeah.
So
Did we agree with every part of it? No, but that's what made them safe, made them heard. We didn't need to argue the point and say, well, the CDC said this, and then, the blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's don't go down those roads. Just avoid it.
yeah. So my thinking is when it comes to this subject that you can set something up ahead of time saying, hey, we're not going to discuss the election. We're not going to discuss politics. We're not going to discuss liberalism versus conservatism. We're not going to discuss any of this. And we are going to be thankful on this day and celebrate as a family and love each other well. And maybe you want to put out an email like that.
Or you dads out there can be prepared with some dad jokes and just immediately shift, No, you don't like that?
That's your specialty.
That's my specialty.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the two things I wanted to discuss because I do think it's important, honesty in who you are,
Yeah.
and following through with your convictions and doing things, not changing who you are to make somebody else happy, not healthy. And then also when it comes to these holidays, being able to maybe set something forth that says, you know what, let's not discuss this.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is a time to be thankful and a time to be with your family and to enjoy a great turkey dinner.
You may come back from that time with a half a tongue, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard to bite your tongue, especially if you're the one being attacked. And I'm not saying that won't be somebody there who specifically comes at you and attacks
Right,
you.
because they know they've already it could be another extended family member, and they've just been waiting for this opportunity. And it's like, you might want to just say, you know what, I'd really prefer not to have to talk about this. So let's enjoy Thanksgiving together. Period.
Yeah,
just
you might just want to look
gracious.
them in the eye and say, I love you. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And maybe we're being a little pie in the sky. I'm sure many of you think that, like, you don't know so-and-so. But a great way to deflect is with love. And if you're trying to figure out how to love someone well, then love them well. Tell them that you love them. Be verbal about that. That no matter what you say to me,
I love my
you.
relationship with you more than I want to discuss opinions right now, because that's just going to divide. So let's talk about some other things. Hey, how about those Braves? How about those Falcons or whatever your team is? In fact, you know what? There should be a football game on, so just kind of have the football game ready to go too. What else?
That's it. I mean, it's just those two things. The part about being honest.
Now, what if let's turn the corner, because maybe we have some pivoting partners out there, pivoting parents to partners who, what if my adult kids have already signaled to me, because I know there's a lot of stuff out there in social media, I'm not coming to Thanksgiving dinner because da. How are we going to handle that?
There's not, that's their choice. That's their choice. And I realize it hurts you. I would be hurt for sure. I'd be crying.
Yeah.
I would definitely be hurt. But there's nothing you can do to change the way they think, to change their mind. What you can say is, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I really love you, and I'm going to miss you. And
I hope you can set that aside and still end up joining us.
Yeah, no matter what you decide that day, I'll honor your wishes. And I love you no matter what. And I hope we can get past this. I don't know what else you can say.
Right.
It's not like you can change their mind, but you can meet them with a loving response. And that's where I want to go with that, is you can meet with a loving response no matter what.
Yeah.
And
just kind of diffuse the situation. I don't have an axe to grind. This isn't about who's right and who's wrong. The country voted, and this is, like that happens all the time. If you kind of take them back through history, it's like we go one way for president, then we go the other way, and then we go back the other way, and then we go back this way. So really all we're doing is we're making up, okay, we went too far that way, we're going to come in.
But I wouldn't engage.
That's true. Okay,
I mean, if you start saying those things, you're just going to make somebody angry. So I would not engage in that. There
you go. You guys are watching Steve being corrected live on the Parent Pivot podcast. So
because it is our natural tendency to want to explain to something like that.
And then
but if they're feeling emotional, that's going to make them feel unheard.
Yes. So if you were at the Cummings household and I started doing that, you would have gotten the evil look from Julia, and you would have immediately shut down and going, "Oh, never mind."
So don't do that.
I'm a much better man today because of her.
The point is you want that person to feel heard.
I understand.
You want them to feel understood, even if you don't agree with them. It's okay that people don't agree with each other. And that's where our world has gotten kind of messed up, is for whatever reason we think it's personal if somebody doesn't agree with us. But neither of us is agreeing with each other. And so it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so the best way to diffuse is with a loving response.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who'd you vote for?
I'm not telling you. That's nobody's business but mine. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say. But
Okay.
I keep wanting to go back to this point though of, if you are lying to your kids, which again, you don't have to answer them who you voted for, or if you are purposely voting for the person they want when you don't feel the same, there's an issue there that you got to ask about. You got to look at yourself with the codependent thing.
It has a tendency to come back to bite you in the end, and then you've lost respect and admiration, even though you might be disagreeing on who you voted for. It's better to be honest and keep things out there so you're not trying to hide anything. But when we hide things...
Right, but I'm not saying that you have to tell your kids who you voted for.
Right. You're just saying don't, yeah.
But I'm saying don't lie to them.
Right.
Telling them that you did vote for somebody that you didn't vote for.
Yeah.
That just seems a little silly.
Yeah. So you got a week or so to 10 days before Thanksgiving comes, whether you're traveling or hosting and you're getting ready for that, or whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot happening here with the holidays.
And
so we may talk about it more too, because there's also, a few weeks ago we did the podcast on if you don't like your child's boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever.
Right. And now here are going to be together.
And here you are going to be, maybe you need a little coaching in how to handle that. So we may be talking about that again, and how to handle the holidays when someone's coming, maybe that you don't.
And then my idea
that's going to be there,
to give you another idea of an upcoming podcast that we'll talk about, and I'm going to use the word emotional enmeshment.
Okay.
Just because there are families. I mean, there's people that we know our age, 60s, who may have grown up and we've seen emotional enmeshment isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's bad, right?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, because, well, I would get into that in the podcast.
Okay, we'll get into that in the podcast. But if you feel emotionally close with your elderly parents, and now that's being created with your adult kids and things, there's just some things we want to walk through to help navigate that, and be respectful, pivoting parents to partners. That's all I really want to say, because that can be a dynamic that's helpful. I was happening to talk to a next generation person, and just trying to help him navigate that and things. So just to be aware of that. So that's another topic that's coming up.
Yeah. And
we're going to probably take a half of December off, because we're going to be traveling. Our kids are going to their outlaws. Yeah. I mean, their in-laws. It's in-law Christmas time, and we decided, hey, you know what? We're empty nesters. Are we going to feel a little left out because we don't have our kids with us at Christmas? Maybe, but just for a little while, because we decided, hey, let's go away for Christmas.
Yep. So we're going to the Caribbean.
We're going to the Caribbean, and by golly, there better be sun where we decided to go. But we're looking forward to that, just the two of us, to have fun with that. And our kids are going, well, what a great idea. So, think sometimes, we could have been invited to probably, our family is here. Your family's here.
Yeah, there's going to be a big gathering.
Big gathering here. And we didn't really offend them, but we said, hey, we're getting out of here and things. So, yeah, so we won't be around for the last couple of weeks of December. We'll come back in 2025 with some really fresh content and things like that. So go to our webpage. Don't have a webpage. Never mind. We don't have a webpage. We do have a Facebook.
And an Instagram.
So go look at Parent Pivot Podcast at both of those. Send us a direct message. Also email us at parentpivotpodcast@gmail.com. We're responding every day to those of you out there listening, and love the reviews that you're writing. So thank you.
Yes, please like us, review us.
Yeah, like the podcast.
Share us. Yeah.
We're here for everybody. And then coming up in February, I'll mention this probably on every podcast and YouTube cast. We're going to be at the Grandparenting Summit in Birmingham, Alabama, toward the end of February. I'll put that in the show notes again. If you're not in the area, can't make it to Birmingham, you can watch it online. And we're teaching a workshop on
the sandwich generation, taking care of younger and older
So
Yeah.
you got your elderly parents that
Balancing.
are pushing in on you, that you're having to somehow take care of health needs or whatever, doctor's appointments, whatever. But you've also got adult children, and that can be quite stressful. So that's what we're going to be teaching on. But yes, thank you for that. We'll be back on next Tuesday, the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, with some more pivoting information, pivot that information, but wisdom and learning from our mistakes and just things that we're hearing out there. Like today, we heard
Yeah.
about this, and we didn't want that to be a roadblock in your relationship with your adult children. So that's why we came up. You may look at that and go, "That's not an issue. What's your next podcast?" We've been doing this now for almost a couple years. I think we're getting close to podcast number 100. So you tune in next time, and I'm holding up a sign going number 100. Off we go. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the Parent Pivot Podcast.
Bye.